What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com.
Here are my DFS picks for NFL Week 16, Thursday Night Football.
These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button
And hit that bell icon.
so you don't miss our new videos.
In this video, I'm going to go over my top DFS picks for this Thursday Night Football showdown between the Tennessee Titans and if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, let's take a look at this Thursday Night Football showdown between the Tennessee Titans and the San Francisco 49ers. So at the quarterback position, I like Jimmy Garoppolo from the San Francisco 49ers playing the Tennessee Titans, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they give up the 9th most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. Jimmy Garoppolo has averaged 17 fantasy points per game on the season and getting an average of 2.8 rush attempts per game. He's going to be about 58% owned, projected at 17.7 fantasy points here tonight. He's 10,400 DraftKings salary. Vegas thinks there's going to be 44 points scored in this game, and they have the 49ers favored by 3. So decent matchup here for Garoppolo. He's got all his pass catchers healthy, so he's got all the weapons available to him tonight. I think he's going to have a great game and score 20 plus fantasy points in this one. He's only 400 more than Ryan Tannehill, who might get A.J. Brown back here tonight, but I don't think it's going to be enough to score more than Jimmy Garoppolo. So I like Jimmy Garoppolo here versus the Tennessee Titans. Okay, let's take a look at the running back position. Okay, so the running back that sticks out on this slate is Jeff Wilson Jr. from the San Francisco 49ers. And Jeff Wilson Jr. scored 23 fantasy points last game off of 21 rush attempts and 2 pass targets. He's going to be about 54% owned on the field for 86% of the snaps. He's projected at 13 fantasy points here tonight, and he's only 5,200 DraftKings salary, and without much competition at the for carries or for rush attempts, he could get 15 to 20 rush attempts here, and at 5,200 DraftKings salary, that gives him some pretty good upside. He's not going to be sharing the ball much, so I like Jeff Wilson Jr. here versus the Tennessee Titans.
Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching.
If you want to enter the drawing for $100 PayPal,
All you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won.
and then we'll send you $100 PayPal.
So it's that easy.
And we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video.
So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you.
Now, for the Tennessee Titans, you got 2 running backs who will be sharing the load here. And out of those 2 guys, the guy that will probably get more touches is Deonta Foreman from the Tennessee Titans. And he's averaging 10.8 fantasy points per game on the season. But let's take a look at his last 3 games. He scored 19, 14, and 14 fantasy points in his last 3 games off of 22, 13, and 19 rush attempts on top of 3, 2, and 1 pass targets. So he's getting pretty good volume back there. He's going to be about 33% owned, projected at 12 fantasy points here tonight. He's 7,600 DraftKings salary. So you're going to have to pick between Deonta Foreman, who's 7,600 DraftKings salary, or the other running back who's going to get his fair share of touches here tonight, Dontrell Hilliard. So Dontrell Hilliard from the Tennessee Titans, he scored 10, 1, and 22 fantasy points in the last 3 games off of 9, 6, and 12 12 rush attempts on top of 6, 2, and 2 pass targets. So he got 15 touches last game, scored 10 fantasy points. He's going to be about 25% owned. He's projected at 8.5 fantasy points here tonight. But what makes this guy attractive is he's only $2,800 DraftKings salary. So I think if I'm going to go with a running back from the Tennessee Titans, I think it's going to be Dontrell Hilliard at only $2,800 DraftKings salary, so I can save some salary in my lineup as a value play, a guy that could get 15 touches in this game. So I like Dontrell Hilliard here versus the San Francisco 49ers. Okay, let's take a look at the wide receiver position. So the stud on the slate is Deebo Samuel from the San Francisco 49ers playing the Tennessee Titans, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall. They give up the second most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. Deebo Samuel has averaged 21.4 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 7.5 pass targets per game and 3 rush attempts per game. But look at the rush attempts in the past 2 games, and this was the case as well before he got injured, and they're right back to it, giving him rush attempts, and he's scoring rushing touchdowns. He got 6 and 8 rush attempts the past 2 games, scored 19 and 13 fantasy points in those games, on top of 5 and 1 pass targets. So I think it's interesting that Deebo Samuel is acting as a running back as well as a wide receiver. That gives him some pretty big fantasy upside, and he's going to be about 63% owned, projected at 16.3 fantasy points here tonight. He's $11,600 DraftKings salary. No doubt he is the stud on the slate, so I like Deebo Samuel here versus the Tennessee Titans.
Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all the tools for NFL. NBA is right around the corner. This is a great time to get in and try everything for 1 month. The tools are all about saving research time. You can see the last 3 games, the fantasy points per game, the targets they got per game, so you can see how involved they are in the offense, the rushes they got per game. Seeing all this stuff on one screen helps you save time and make better picks. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups.
Now, Brandon Ayuk, he's got a good matchup, but he is $8,000 DraftKings salary. Only got 2 pass targets last game, scored 5 fantasy points, so that's a bit concerning. But the game before that, he got 11 pass targets and scored 19 fantasy points. I just wish his salary was a little bit lower here. You can see he's only going to be about 26% owned. I think his price tag is just a little bit too high for his potential upside. So I think there's better options on the slate here tonight. But he could get it done. You know, he could have one of those games where he gets 7 to 10 pass targets and they double Deebo Samuel and they go to Brandon Ayuk. So don't totally discount him here, but I am leaning towards other players on this slate. For example, Julio Jones from the Tennessee Titans. He is only $6,800 DraftKings salary. He's averaging 8.1 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 4.8 pass targets per game. He's going to be about 19% owned. Now, he has not been playing well. Scored 0, 7, and 8 fantasy points in the last 3 games off of 1, 6, and 4 pass targets. But you just got to think that Julio Jones is going to put in a good performance eventually. So I think he is in play here at 6,800 DraftKings salary. If you need to fit in or save some salary with a guy that should have some pretty good upside. So I like Julio Jones here versus the San Francisco 49ers. But now the other wide receiver who should be considered on this slate because he's going to be eligible to return here tonight. You'll have to keep an eye on the injury news to see if they're going to play him. I think they might. Take a look at A.J. Brown from the Tennessee Titans. He's averaging 13.3 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 7.8 pass targets per game. If he plays, he's going to be about 38% owned, projected at 12.9 fantasy points here tonight, and he's 8,800 DraftKings salary. So if he does play this game, I think I would just rather pay $800 more for A.J. Brown over Brandon Ayuk, but that's just me. So I like A.J. Brown if he plays here tonight versus the San Francisco 49ers. Okay, let's take a look at the tight end position. Now, there's really only one tight end I want to play on this slate, although there is a couple value plays for the Tennessee Titans. It's just going to be hard to know which one of those guys is going to get the ball and which one could potentially score. So it's really a coin flip between the Tennessee Titans tight ends. But of course, for the San Francisco 49ers, you got the stud George Kittle, who is averaging 17.6 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 7.5 pass targets per game. He's going to be about 58% owned on the field for 100% of the snaps, projected at 17.3 fantasy points here tonight. He's 11,200 DraftKings salary, and he scored 15, 37, and 43 fantasy points in the last 3 games off of 6, 15, and 12 pass targets. So I like George Kittle here versus the Tennessee Titans. Now, if you want to go with a value play at the tight end position, for the Tennessee Titans, the guys that are getting pass targets are Geoff Swaim and Anthony Fursker. Both these guys are low salary. Geoff Swaim is 3,200 DraftKings salary. Anthony Fursker is 2,600 DraftKings salary. They both got 2 pass targets last game. Neither of them have done much the past 3 games, but at that low price tag, if one of these guys does get into the end zone, they would be a valuable play here tonight. They're both going to be about 10% owned. So just a coin flip on which guy you think is going to score between Geoff Swaim and Anthony Fursker. I would probably lean towards Anthony Fursker and go with the salary savings if I'm going to play one of the two, depending on my lineup.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smiggity smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NFL slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.